and hello everyone who joined us for this live session. This time together with Sandra, and she also joined us as one of our hosts for the Matchmaker. We started this program just recently. We had a launch around 1 month ago from now. And we already have 68 people who already signed up and got matches. And some of those actually became teams. So we had some really nice success stories already, and it gives me the chills still when I think about that like we can just provide connections, we can bring people together with such a tool. Sandra, what was your contact with this? How did you see this as something that is of potential, and why did you join us?
In the beginning, I just saw your post pretty quickly after I joined, because actually I just joined the area 4 weeks ago. And thought I was part of the program actually. And we're okay, cool, matchmaker. I'm curious, always curious about making valuable and meaningful connections, not only, let's say, transactional ones. And that's why I joined, tried it out, really liked our call. Really liked your stories of the other conversations you had, and was curious to meet more people too. So far I also had very valuable and meaningful conversations for myself as a host, and have seen the positive feedback from other members. And I think that's very valuable because it makes a big difference whether you just have a connection or you have a very meaningful connection on multiple levels. And I think that's something Matchmaker can provide.
Can't agree more. Yes, I mean, this is the hope, this is the idea behind it, to build connections, right? So I had experiences of people sharing with me that they felt a little bit in the corner, and maybe they are more introvert, and maybe they're not as outreachy and are not like that good in finding the correct people, because we have a vast amount of people in our network. There's this long list of introductions. And this is something that is being addressed, not just by us, but also by the AAA right now with the Members Hub, which I really welcome. Get in there and also sign up for the test. So the more people that are getting connected, the better, no matter from what project this comes. Because at some point, maybe you will decide to pivot more into development or more into sales. Maybe you have some background in one of those, and you already know that you're much more efficient to play this role or that role. And in this case, it just makes sense to team up with someone who can be the other half, right? And I do this right now as well. Like, I'm more in opening up and doing marketing as I talk to you right now. Marius in the background, he's the developer. He loves to do code, which I don't. So I really enjoy this team that we built also out of the Matchmaker. And this is just the beginning, right? So we did set this up on connect.voiceloop.io. So that's to build this. And we also have many other ideas that go upon that. So what you do when you get in, you will have a conversation. 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more. You talk about your projects, you talk about your background, your niche, maybe your culture, maybe something personal, maybe something that you would appreciate from some person that you would get a match. And sometimes this is not something you would think of like very early stage. Okay, I need someone who has a skill. Maybe it's even something very specific. Maybe it's a value, maybe it's the language, maybe it's the culture. And our AI takes into consideration around 50 different data points. And whatever you share, this will all contribute to this matchmaking process. And we are improving this over time. So the matches will become better the more people that join this pool of talents and of personalities. So that we not just match skill by skill, not just developer by seller, but maybe also some very unusual combinations that really also have a good fit. So this is something that I'm really proud of, that we got hands on and keep developing it, and also that the conversation, this sharing, really helps to become like a really big source of information and data. So this is this raw data that just has the origin of a conversation. And when people talk, they share information that they maybe not would type it in a form. Like when the form is like set and you have some very selected fields that you can fill out, maybe you have something more to add which would not fit in such a field. So this is very dynamic, and we expand on different fields, on different data points that we extract from this raw data. So it's not just that we have it fixed once, it can also be rearranged. And next time we re-extract the transcript again, and it fills other fields. So this is what I love most about the architecture on what we use for that. It's very flexible. So we can improve it and iterate it and mutate it over time so that the matches improve by the data it collects, and we have like, I mean, it's not so much right now, about 500 kilobytes of compressed data in our vector database. But this can also improve over time when people having just more than one conversation. And we were looking into this. And I mean, just imagine when you have many conversations happening in our community over time, and maybe you see there is some new conversation and you see data flowing in, and maybe there's something, some topics, some opportunities, some trends discussed that the whole community can benefit on the next or on the same day. You know, maybe someone has just found a new opportunity and talks about it, and then he opens up, and this information will also be shared with other members of our community, so that we are better informed on what is happening, and also can lean into in our skills, because the AI can find people who are very suited for this kind of opportunity, and it can send you a note. Okay, this is something someone just brought up, and you would fit perfectly for this person, for this opportunity, or this project, or whatever it is. So there are many options to build on that. And today we also have another format besides of this first onboarding calls that we started, because we thought, okay, maybe it's more than just talking and sharing this information. Maybe it's also something that people feel empowered because someone has a very similar story than you have. And now we will start podcasts. And Sandra also was very enthused by this idea to have a podcast format. Because it's not just me, right? I mean, you also had the idea maybe at the same time. Share a little bit about that.
But yeah, actually, like more for me personally, we're happy to share. I think just quickly touching on what you also mentioned, what makes the matchmaker special is that you pay attention to the nuances. Partially also to the nuances, we can't reflect ourselves in our strength, in our character, in our background. And sometimes in those matches, those can be picked up. And so you're matched for so many different reasons that you cannot put in the form, and you can't maybe even reflect yourself. But when you're prompted by another person, you kind of find them. And then if you find somebody and you have a match or you have a connection, the nuances are what makes the difference between a good connection and a great one, or let's say a functional one or a meaningful one. And I think that's what you're working toward, and that's what I want to contribute to. And what I also find interesting about the podcast idea, because it shows the power of conversation. And so people can listen to it, they maybe get an idea, they feel more comfortable, they enter the conversation more comfortable. But also just by listening to it, they get to know another person, or actually two other people that they can then reach out to. And I think we all know that feeling when we follow an influencer a lot, maybe Leon, and then suddenly we see him on a call and it's like, oh my God, he reacts to me. But we feel like we know that person already. We can have the same thing within a community. And so instead of wasting 15 minutes every time we jump on a call with a new person, we kind of know the basics already, and we can jump to the more meaningful things from the start. And I think having matchmaker conversations in that format is pretty powerful. And so let's give it a try.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you also have like a discovery call with the whole community when you have an open format. When we have it in a closed format, AI will take care of that. But when you feel like, okay, I also want to show myself like as a person, this could also be heard by someone who sees you as a match, right? So you will open up for this possibility, especially when you're looking for someone to team up with, to be found. Yeah, people will reach out to you, obviously, because you will provide more depth to what AI can find and what your profile will be, because you share more personal information directly to the person potentially who will see or feel you to be a good match for you, or for the person to say, right? And yeah, I mean, I love that, and I always feel very inspired when I hear, like, I really like to hear podcasts of people sharing personal stories besides of just information, knowledge transfer, because then it's not just, okay, I can learn something, but I also can resonate to the experience, to the struggle, maybe to the challenges, and this can bring me in a good position because I see, okay, he did it, as we see also with Liam. He had all this backstory, and I really enjoyed to watch this documentation where he shared about his background and how he got where he is right now. And this is a very powerful message. So we are in a very early stage right now, as Liam was back then, and there's so much ahead of us when we keep going, when we don't stop now when it's hard. And when you hear stories like this also from other members who also did continue, although it was hard, I guess this could be a very strong, positive, motivating message for us. And I just would love to contribute to that by inviting and giving people this platform to share.
I think you are. From the feedback that you shared with me, there are a couple of very powerful matches that happened already, and that make a big difference for the people that are part of them. And so I guess the podcast will make that even more acceptable.
Yes, so my video just went off, but I will continue to speak on this other camera. Technology can make
frontal.
Yeah, let's go
we have you in 3D, and I think that was what podcasts actually, I want to say that too. Podcasts kind of do that they take, if you read something, it's, let's say 2D, I like to say that. But if you hear somebody and you hear somebody in conversation, they have to kind of spontaneously react. They have to move. They maybe shift. You suddenly get them in 3D in a way. And then it feels more natural and more personal to actually reach out to them, for example, and say, hey, you mentioned X, or you mentioned this one little sentence. I would like to learn more about that. That would never happen, even in an intro post. And I do always read the intro posts and sometimes reach out to people because I think that I want to learn more about this, or I experienced the same thing, or I think we could talk about that. And with a podcast, you just have way more angles where that could happen. And so let's see how people react.
Exactly. So that's like this multifaceted approach, and we will keep it open. So you can say, let's have a podcast, and we say, maybe, yeah, let's try it. Let's see, let's go through this. And then in the end, we will decide. So it's just a conversation, right? We just talk, and you share what you share, and we ask questions. And at the end of this session, then we will have we will decide together if this should be a podcast or not. And that's fine. That should be fine for every one of us. So it could also be just for the matchmaking. It could be just for the conversation itself. So you got something out of it just by sharing what you wanted to share. And the AI will also provide you more depth with some results that it extracts from that. And then you will also get some matches as everyone else. So either way, it is a win. That's what I wanted to say. And yeah, and then let's see what happens next. So this is a new format. I'm really looking forward into our first guests. So there are already 3 in the line who already signed up for these sessions, and we will hear pretty soon, next week, sometime. Let's see when we are finished, because there will be some post editing so that we maybe get some out of the way, right? So that's more pleasant experience also for the listeners. But then we will just share it for everyone in the community right now. And let's see, maybe also on LinkedIn, but that's still to be decided. All right, so any final words from your end, Sandra?
I think just a very important point that you sort of mentioned in the end, just to wrap up what the process will be like. I think the most important thing is authenticity within a matchmaker. So everybody can still decide, can I feel and can I be more authentic by just having a normal onboarding conversation, contributing with my data, being matched, being a bit hidden, taking my own approach? Or do I want to kind of be, let's say, a bit more visible through your podcast so other people can maybe find me too, which is not a match, but somebody else might, as a human, decide, hey, I've listened to something and I want to connect to that and to the person behind it. But that there is always the option to be part of a podcast and then decide, okay, no, this was a bit too personal, or maybe I was too authentic in a way. And then let's just make it a normal onboarding call. So for anybody listening and kind of not knowing what to do yet, maybe go for the podcast, have the longer format, and have the option. And if you then decide, no, I kind of feel more comfortable not making it a podcast, let's just make it an onboarding call. We can schedule another podcast at some point. So,
Exactly.
I guess with that, everybody knows how to decide. And I'm really excited to see which guests we have coming up first, and what kind of conversations we end up having, and to maybe make everybody a bit more approachable and a little bit more free and nuanced.
You just rounded up perfectly, and yeah, I could not add anything else to that. So thank you so much. I'm very honored, Sandra, that you joined us, and I'm really looking forward to our sessions.
Thank you very much. And to anybody out there also being on the fence whether to join as a host, the more hosts we have, the more people we can onboard, the faster the community can grow. And so please, if you're also debating whether to join as a host, it's really valuable to have those conversations and prompt people with questions that help them share a bit more about who they are and what drives them. So thanks, Thomas, for initiating all of this. And
thank you.
Let's see where it goes.
Bye for now.